Well, good morning, everyone. How are ya? And once again, welcome to another live this morning, and good to have you on with us, and we appreciate it. Appreciate you guys big time, and say hello to a few friends here as they come on. Let's see. Andrea, Niagara Falls. Mike, Norland. Brahim, there he is. And Tina, Nova Scotia, good morning. We appreciate you guys. Thanks a lot. Nick from our staff right at the top. Kevin from Oshawa. And Sandy from Fergus Falls, Minnesota. Sue, how are you from Bolton? Nativity, good morning. And Carrie, Nebraska. Doris, how are you? Sandy from Chilliwack, British Columbia. Jeanette, how are you? And Gloria, good to have you on this morning. Yolande, how are you? And Nellie, you guys are such good friends there. Georgie from Halifax, Nova Scotia. Jeanette from our staff. And Brahim was number one, he said. Donna. And Fran from Orangeville, good morning. Cecilia from Sudbury. Where's that? And where's that? Is that Milika? And Wanda, who is from West Tennessee there? Claudette? It's going up into my, guys, I can't see it. Joni, how are you? Vince. And Nancy, Gore's Landing, good morning. Dale. And Johanna. And Susan from Cape Breton. Wendy from Markham. John, Elgin, Illinois. Yeah, see, goes up there. I can't see it. Rosalinda. And Kathy. Good morning. Up into the clouds. That's right. Barbara. Karen. Thanks for coming on. Donna from Newfoundland. Paul, Edmonton. How are you? Sandra Aurelia, good morning. Bobby Kitchener. And Laurie, Cambridge. Gloria from New York. Cheryl, how are you? And Sherry. And Kevin. And see, I missed that from Chatham. And I think that's Karen from Peterborough. Annette. And Margie. Beautiful Kansas. Dave. And Sherry from Thessalon. How are you? See, I can't, guys going up into those clouds. I don't know. I got to move things around. I can't see half of them. Karen and Sharon, waiting for some rain. Diane, Newfoundland. Adeline, and two more guys. Karen from Sault Ste. Marie, and Louise, how are you? Thanks for coming. Olga from Port Elgin, New Brunswick. Sandy. And Brahim saying hi to Kevin. I'm glad you guys communicate with each other. John, Carol from Mount, lot of folks from Newfoundland. Linda, good morning. Marlene, okay, now, let's finish up on yesterday's little discussion. Tired but wired, okay? And high cortisol would just, because I got other studies I want to look at here this morning. But let me just get to some here. Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, and we'll get in here and go down this list. But I just want to finish out. I wrote this, okay, on just 6 major things. There's probably more on high cortisol. But yesterday we spent some time and looked at high cortisol belly fat. Belly fat, okay? And one of the reasons for that is because when you have high cortisol, that stress hormone that hangs around for a long time, it really, really messes up your hormones. Because, and as I mentioned yesterday, it robs your body of progesterone. That gives you an estrogen dominance, especially in ladies. And when you get estrogen dominance, estrogen is a growth hormone. Insulin's a growth hormone, and estrogen's a growth hormone. That's why anybody, look, I used to get to the basics with cancer. And I would really emphasize just, not a complicated protocol. I used to tell people, tell my patients, tell people on my radio show years ago, you want to lower two things. You want to lower your insulin? Why? It's a growth hormone. Insulin makes things grow. Estrogen makes things grow. I don't like using estrogen as a therapeutic. I like elevating progesterone and balancing estrogen. You need estrogen, but it is a growth hormone. And that's why in cancer, I used to talk about this all the time. Lower your insulin. How do you lower your insulin? You lower your carbohydrates. You lower your carbohydrates. Lower estrogen. Balance it. Very, very important. Block the estrogen. That is why the extra estrogen. That is why I love flax seeds. That is why I love DIM. D-I-M. Dimming it out. Okay? Really, really important to do that. Block the extra estrogen. Block the insulin as much as you can. Very, very important. And I used to focus in on that. Eliminate all sugars. No sugar at all for patients with cancer. That was my recommendation. Up your levels of vitamin D, big time. Vitamin D, vitamin D, vitamin D. Okay, now let's get back here. And we're just going to look at this. So we talked about yesterday we talked about hormones and how when you have high cortisol, what's happening is you're messing up your hormone. It messes up the grid of your hormones, okay? I like talking about that grid. Let me see if I can find a picture of my grid again, because I'm always drawing, because that's how my mind works, guys. Okay? That's how my mind works. Let me see. I thought I did one the other day. I might have torn it out. Okay, maybe it's here. Okay? You want me to draw a grid again? The grid. Okay? I'll take out a pen and I'm going to draw a grid. Okay? And then I would circle. I do this in my office all the time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 circles. Okay? I'm going to show you my grid. And this is the key to hormones. You got to look at the whole package. Okay? So, I'm showing you my grid. You see it? Okay? See that? I flunked art, guys. But if you get this, you get hormones. Okay? Now, I'm going to fill this out. What is this? Up at the top. Thyroid. Okay? Insulin. Cortisol. Okay, your adrenals. And progesterone and estrogen. Okay? Now, let me show you this again. Okay? This is the grid for hormones. And when I teach hormones, I draw the grid. And I said, look, you got to take it all into consideration. All of it. Okay? So at the bottom, you got estrogen and progesterone. They must be balanced in order for you to feel good. Okay, this is obviously for women. Men, testosterone. But it's affected too by the other things, okay? Now, halfway up, you got 3 circles. You got cortisol on both sides. And in the middle, you have your pancreas, your insulin. Food is very, very important. And at the top, you have your thyroid. All of these come together. When you look at your hormones, you've got to put that grid together. Otherwise, if you test these things individually, in my opinion, you're making a big mistake by testing them individually. Because, first of all, people used to ask me, Doc, I want to get my cortisol levels checked. Okay. We used to do that. But I never took cortisol on its own. Always within that grid. I wanted to know what your insulin was. I wanted to know what your thyroid was doing. I wanted to know what your estrogen was. I wanted to know what your testosterone was in men. I didn't care about testosterone in women. Women have a little bit of testosterone, but it's not their dominating hormone. And testosterone in a woman would only go up, would only be out of balance when they had too much estrogen. So I didn't worry about that. I worried about estrogen. I worried about progesterone, that grid. Now remember about cortisol, and this is why I'm showing you the other chart, okay? Remember this about cortisol. Cortisol is an accelerator. It pours gasoline on the fire. Cortisol is on your side, unless you're secreting it way too much. Chronic levels of high cortisol is pouring gasoline on the fire of inflammation. It's not Houdini. Okay? Inflammation's not Houdini. Something caused inflammation. But cortisol, what it does is it pours gasoline on the fire. Therefore, the 6 biggest things with cortisol, okay? What is it? Belly fat. Ladies, you just look at food and gain weight, especially around your belly. And let me say this, okay? Because people used to ask me this all the time. Ladies, when you get extra fat on the hips, what is that? Estrogen dominance. You're too much of a woman. Fat on the hips. Estrogen. The thyroid, because estrogen slows the thyroid to a crawl. When you get belly fat, that is cortisol. Cortisol gives you belly fat. Okay? Number 2, hormones. We talk about hormones. Number 3, sleep. Yeah. Cortisol. You're wired. You're tired, but you're wired. Okay? Because this goes together. You're tired, but you're wired. Because cortisol gets you like that inside. It really has a major effect on the parasympathetic nervous system. You're not getting into that restful sleep. Okay? You're not getting into the restful sleep. And anxiety. Okay? See that? Anxiety. Of course. And you have an underneath. you look under the hood and that person's got anxiety. And before, you know how many thousands, I mean the guys, thousands of patients that never had trouble with anxiety before in their lives. And when their hormones got messed up, they now had anxiety that they never had before. And anxiety, the Bible tells us this, anxiety can lead to depression. It can lead to depression. Prolonged anxiety can lead to depression. And again, this is why when you analyze a patient properly, you really can figure things out and help them out big time. Okay? And we talked a little bit about this here. Number 6, decrease in the immune system. Do you know someone that is always catching colds, always got a virus or a bug? Okay? Cortisol is often at the root of that. Again, cortisol pours gasoline on the fire. And the other thing it does, it distracts. It's a distraction. Your body is not thinking. When it's like uptight, it's not thinking. If it's wired and tired, it's not thinking about defeating viruses or bacteria. It's only thinking of the fact that it's the fight or flight. So the immune system is compromised. Guys, here's something that I observed, and I actually wrote about it. I showed you that book yesterday. It's behind me there somewhere. Yeah, chronic fatigue syndrome, okay? The curse of the modern woman. Let me get it out. Because I want to show it to you again, okay? Okay, this book here, chronic fatigue syndrome. Who is that guy at the top there? That guy back there. Holy, well, I don't even recognize him. Okay, now, when I wrote this book, there's a chapter in here on cancer. And people that were getting chronic fatigue syndrome. This is way back when now, 35 years ago, whenever I wrote that book. People that were diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. I was the first guy, I think, to talk about the connection to the adrenal glands, the high levels of cortisol. You got 2 modes in your body, okay? Think of a switch. And you can put, your body goes into fight or flight or rest and digest. And you know when your immune system is working the best? Rest and digest. That's why we emphasize that so much. Getting sleep and allowing your system to detoxify. You know, people ask me all the time, Doc, what do I do to detoxify? Well, here's a couple of things right off the top. You know, do you need anything special? No, you need to sleep. When you sleep, the self-cleaning oven works. When you sleep. If you don't sleep, the self-cleaning oven, especially of your brain, doesn't work. You can't detox the brain unless you're into a sleep. And this is why I don't like artificial sleep. I don't like sleeping pills because that's sedation. Sedation does not allow your body to go into the self-cleaning oven. It doesn't get turned on, guys. And I used to get patients in my office tens of thousands of times, it seems. I'm exaggerating. but lived on sleeping. But doc, I can't sleep without a sleeping pill. Well, I'm just going to tell you something. Your body, you're being sedated. You're not sleeping. You're going to get an operation, okay? And they sedate you. Are you sleeping? Nah, you're not sleeping. You're sedated. It's like you got a knockout punch from Muhammad Ali. It knocked you out. It's not sleep. It's sedation. And I didn't like that because I said, look, I understand it. You want to sleep, but I said, you're not sleeping. Not technically. You're into sedation. Big, big difference. And the body doesn't detox. You want to detox properly? Emphasize sleep in your life. You need to get into the rest and digest and turn off that the fight or flight. Some people never get out of fight or flight. And you can't detox properly. Even your liver won't detox properly in the fight or flight. Your liver and your kidneys primarily, okay, are the two organs that will detox you. Your liver, first of all, this is why one of the biggest emphasis on the reset. I talk the reset all the time, that 30-day program to reset. And I know so many people, they don't understand it. They think of it as a weight loss program. And that's all right. I understand that. But that's not why it was created. It was created to get insulin down. And when you get insulin down, your body empties the liver. The liver empties itself. And then you can detox. Because remember, your liver, it does over 600 things, by the way. Your liver, you know, it gets no respect, the liver. But everything starts in the liver. Okay? Everything starts in the liver. Your detox starts in the liver. And your kidneys too. That's why I love water. That's why we talk about Niagara Falls all the time. The kidneys of Canada. Wash it out. Wash those toxins out. Vitamin W. Okay, so cortisol. We got the memo. And in this book, by the way, I went down a rabbit trail and I didn't even finish the story. Okay. In this book, go back that many years, and you know what I was talking about? Breast cancer. Because what they found in chronic fatigue syndrome was that these people, these women especially, were 50% more likely to get breast cancer. What's the connection? Fight or flight versus rest and digest. Your immune system takes a hit. The immune system takes a hit. Big time. Cortisol would pour gasoline on cancer. Pours gasoline on it. And then, of course, when you're wired and tired, guess what foods you want to eat? Quick fixes. Simple carbohydrates. To elevate your blood sugar. Because remember what cortisol does. Cortisol elevates the blood sugar. That's its job. Fight or flight. Elevates blood sugar. But what goes up must come down. And with chronic fatigue, what do we see all the time? Hypoglycemia. low blood sugar because blood sugar was going up. What goes up must come down. Blood sugar would go up. Blood sugar would come down. The yo-yo. And so guess what happens? People that are wired and tired would choose the bad foods. They would choose something quick to bring their blood sugar back up. What a vicious cycle that was. We saw that all the time. And they wanted something quick. They get a quick fix with their food. And they always, almost invariably, would choose the wrong food. So my plan, okay? I look at this. Who is that guy, by the way? I'm looking at this book. Who is that guy? Listen. Okay, listen. I always started with the diet. Even with cortisol. I started with the diet. Because when I bring you back to the grid, okay? When I bring you back to the grid, the one thing you can control is that puppy right there. The one thing you could control was that puppy right there. Insulin. Insulin is a food hormone. And the basis of fixing the grid here, fixing the hormones, was getting at food and changing fuels. What's the king of the castle? Protein. Protein and fat in combination. I was watching a commercial last night, and they said, if you want to get high energy, eat fruits and vegetables. And I was shaking my head. That's not the best food for energy. Fruits and vegetables. It's not the best food for energy. I'm not saying it's no good. I'm just telling you it's not the best food for energy. The best food for energy is eggs, meat, and cheese. Because it's full of fat, soluble vitamins. If you want to get your energy levels up, you need all those amino acids. Amino acids, you're not getting a complete dose of amino acids, proteins, and fat unless you're eating eggs, meat, and cheese. I'm not telling you fruits and vegetables are no good, but they're not energy foods. They're not energy foods. And I used to start that foundation with food, getting them to change fuels. I said, listen, you're picking the wrong fuel all the time. It's quick, a quick fix. It's like cocaine. You're getting a fix, but it's not good, doing you much good. You're reaching for bread. You're reaching for noodles. You're reaching for pasta. You're reaching for something crappy dinner. You're reaching for something to give you a fix, a chocolate bar or a muffin or a bagel or whatever, like anything that'll give you fast. I said, you're making a mistake. Your body wants you to change fuels. You're exhausted. You're wired, but tired. And now if you can change fuels. I flew over the weekend. Okay? I flew. I got in an airplane. You know what I watched? I watched them, okay? As I was sitting in the airport, you could see them loading, and And by the way, they forgot my baggage. Oh, anyway, but I watched them fill the plane with aviation fuel. They didn't go to the gas station down the road and get 87 or 88, even 93 octane. They didn't do that. They brought in special jet fuel. Because those jets, they don't run on what your car runs on. Okay? And your car might run on batteries, but a plane don't. I'm not that optimistic, unless they can make batteries really small, because batteries are heavy. That's why you don't see electric boats. They're too heavy. They'll sink. A plane, they'd never take off. Okay? Like Elon Musk hasn't made a plane yet. Anyway, getting back to fuel. I watched them put that fuel in. And that's a high octane fuel. I can't emphasize this enough, guys. The importance of eating the right food. I said, I know what you feel like. You want to fix. But I said, we're going to monitor this, and it's what you can control, and you need to be disciplined big time. If you want to get out of this rut of wired and tired, if you want to get out of the fight and flight the whole time, you need to change fuels. And you'll see, it's going to make a big difference for you. You can't fix the grid until you fix the fuel. You have to start there. Fix the fuel. Okay, I thought I was going to get to a couple of other studies, but I didn't. Because I get down on rabbit trails and I get talking. Okay. Guys, this grid, okay? This grid, they should be teaching in medical school. I won't hold my breath. But they should. Okay, are you ready? Guys, what's Friday? Question and answer Friday. Send in your questions. We want to answer your questions. It's one of the most fun times of the week. Okay, we love you guys. Did I tell you that lately? Probably not. We love you dearly, and we'll talk to you soon.